This is augforums.com Real Talk, an unfiltered, independent perspective on Acumatica Cloud ERP. My name is Tim Rodman, and I want to mention three things in this pre-recorded intro before we get started. First, thank you to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Paya. Paya offers Acumatica users a suite of industry-leading payment orchestration tools. Far beyond native Acumatica payments, Paya enables EMV, NFC terminals for counter sale. They offer a frictionless customer portal through their click-to-pay solution, and they support most e-commerce platforms and point-of-sale solutions used with Acumatica, such as One Retail and AcuPOS. And best of all, omni-channel reconciliation is available for all of their solutions. Our second sponsor is DataSelf. DataSelf Analytics is a revolutionary reporting solution that enables organizations to make the most informed decisions faster and easier than ever. It uniquely simplifies business intelligence, empowers anyone to build and access dashboards, and delivers critical business insight when and where you need it. Our third sponsor is 24/7 Digitize. 24/7 Digitize is an Acumatica bookkeeping service provider that helps derive the best value from your Acumatica investment by maintaining your books utilizing Acumatica's best practices and guidelines. Please take a minute to support this podcast by clicking each one of the sponsor banners located at augforums.com/sponsors. Our sponsors track clicks, and every click helps to support this podcast. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always looking for victims. I mean guests. If you use Acumatica in any capacity, no matter how small, I'd love to talk with you. Check out augforums.com/podcast and click the link near the top of the page to learn more about being a guest on the podcast. Third and finally, I'd love to see you listed on my Rolodex. Check out augforums.com/Rolodex to find out who else is using Acumatica and read the instructions at the top to see how you can add yourself to the list. All right, that's it for the pre-recorded intro. Let's get started. Today is Thursday, August 25th, 2022, and this is episode number 94. Laura Carpenter, Accounting and Applications Administrator at Dutchland, Inc. Laura, thanks for coming on today, and also thanks for lifting the veil on the company name, which we called Company X last time we talked. But thanks again for coming on and continuing to share your journey with Acumatica.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate being able to chat with you again and connect. Seems connecting is something that I'm doing more frequently these days with other Acumatica users and VARs and I don't know, lots of people. So
yeah, so tell us more about that. You started telling me before we hit record about a user group that you did last night. Tell me more. It sounded interesting.
Yeah, so I am part of a team that has started the South Central Pennsylvania users group. We're an independent
South Central Pennsylvania. Okay, got it.
So thinking kind of like the Lancaster, Lebanon, Harrisburg, maybe Chester County. So kind of like the middle, not too close to Philadelphia. We're about an hour, a little more than an hour west of Philadelphia. So that's kind of the vicinity, York County. I don't know.
That is really cool because that's not like big on the radar. I mean, normally you think of a big market type of a place. When I think of Pennsylvania, I think of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and other places, right? You're in
everything
the other
in
places. So that's cool that you're actually identifying with that other place and not trying to attach to Philadelphia. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's enough users, there's enough VARs, other parties that are connected to Acumatica in this region, that we feel it's a good place to start, and build outward. And, we want people to be able to be in our area and connect. We're not opposed to being too far outside that area, but we want people to be able to like interact and participate, and come to the user group meetings and things like that.
So did you just show up, or were you involved in actually picking a room and a date and time and all that?
Yeah, so there are three of us that are leading the group right now. We have a consultant, an independent consultant who's working with us, myself, and we are a user. And then there's one other company that is a Acumatica user, and they're also participating in kind of leading the charge for this group at this point.
Very cool. So then the hardest part is picking a place. Like, how did you pull that off?
So both our company and the other user, we both have facilities large enough, and we both have conference rooms large enough to kind of be able to contain a larger group of people. So we're taking turns at this point hosting. And then we've kind of decided that, each person that hosts is going to try to pick up the tab for a meal, because I know there's been great discussion of, do you have food or don't you have food? So yesterday,
Yeah, it was a debate for me. I don't think it's a debate for anyone else. At least my experience.
yeah. So we did have lunch, and then we had a time where we had kind of went around the room and just said who we were and introduced ourselves and our roles within our companies. And then we went around the room again and just talked about kind of our, 5, 7, 8 minute spiel of what our journey was, what we're working on, or what we're struggling with. And it was really great. There was a lot of good interaction between people, with like what they're working through, and other people were able to chime in and suggest things. So it was I felt we had a really good conversation about all different kinds of things within Acumatica.
Like how many people came, and did you take a group picture?
Did not take a group picture. I regret not doing it, because I wanted something like that we could put on our LinkedIn group. We're running the group through a private LinkedIn group, which I can send you the link to that. People, if they're interested in this area, want to join, they can request to join the group, and all of our meetings then are LinkedIn meetings. So that way we can, do signups right there. I wanted a group picture, but I failed in remembering that. So
No, I hear you. I've had similar things. Like you got some bullet points in your head, and then you just too much going on. Yeah.
yeah, we had a total of 16 people there. We had a couple of
Wow.
Acumatica employees. We had, I want to say there were 2 or 3 outside like consultant type people, or they're not Acumatica employees, and they're not directly working with a VAR. They're not a VAR. And then we had 1 or 2 people there that were from VARs. And then the rest were customers. So I'm going to guess there were probably about 10 customers, or people that worked for an Acumatica customer, or as a user. Sorry, user is a better word.
Wow. And this was, did anyone, okay, first tell me about I think you said the Acumatic employees. There were a couple that traveled in from outside the area, right?
Yes. So they were personally invited. They're Acumatica employees that myself and our consultant know personally from other interactions. So we extended the invite, and they jumped on board, and they were like, "We'll be there." So it was great
And
to
then
have
what
them.
about customers? You said like 10 customers, all from that area, or did anyone come in from Make a Drive?
No, everybody was from our area. I want to say
Wow.
I think the furthest distance was maybe about 40 minutes to where we met. But generally speaking, I'm trying to think, 1, 2.
Wow.
Three, four, five, six different companies. Six different companies were there. And from those six, there was a couple companies that have multiple employees there.
So I was going back to my notes on previous podcast episodes. I remember talking to Eric from Penn Air. Was anyone from Penn Air there? I'm curious.
Nope.
Really? That's not even, so there's another one that I know of in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area
Yeah.
that was not even there. Wow, that's quite a hotbed
Yeah.
of Acumatica activity. You wouldn't think of
Yeah.
it.
And one of the VARs that was there, they're local to our region in the Lancaster area. And I don't believe they had any of their customers there. Now, if their
Wow.
customers are local customers or not, I'm not sure. But they were there. That VAR was represented simply by themselves. But we had one of those customers, they are in the middle of implementing. They haven't gone live yet, but everybody else that was there had been live for at least 2.5 years, I think.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, I take it back. There was one more company. So 7 companies.
So I remember talking to Eric about this. I can't remember if I've talked with you about this, but what do you think it is about that area? It sort of, to me, seems like a maker culture where, and Acumatica is very friendly towards that mindset. It's like, we're going to get a product and we know we might customize it. We're going to make it be what we want to be. Do you get that impression about the Lancaster area, or is it just chance that there's so many Acumatica customers there?
I don't know. I would definitely agree with that. One of the customers that was there did express how much they have customized their Acumatica workspace. And kind of if it doesn't fit their box, they're very willing to customize. And then, we have, with our instance, we try to shy away from as many customizations as we can. So we only customize if we can't find another way to use the system. So I think there's some of that. I also think that in our area, there's some, and this was kind of prevalent. There was a number of customers that were there yesterday that we all came from the same legacy system.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, forget my crazy theory.
Yeah,
makes a lot more sense.
I think your theory is good, but I also think that there's another factor there, and I do think that there are some other customers out there that have come from our same legacy system. So I think that's definitely part of it, and from the system we're coming from, Acumatica is like light years improvement. So I think that has a lot to do with it. The online presence, the mobile, the integration of the many different aspects of businesses, like, because we're construction, we're manufacturing, we're using CRM, we have our payroll, we have our finance, and we have our inventory module, and our old ERP couldn't handle half of that. Our old ERP was simply payroll and finance and inventory. That was it. So a lot of these companies are coming from that. And I think that has something to do with it. We're looking for more.
Yeah, you mentioned payroll. So we talked about payroll last time. And I love the transparency. We talked about the good and the bad. Where are you at now from a payroll standpoint? In terms of how things are going for you there?
I think payroll is going much, much better than it had been. Even since we talked last time, there's improvements that have come with releases and updates and build updates and things like that. Those have all just kind of taken our payroll to the next level. I've been in communications with the payroll team at Acumatica and just saying, like, how can we take this to the next level? I've put some stuff out on the community of ways that we can improve. I'd love to see more advances in the way that PTO banks operate and functionality there. And I know that that's something they're looking into. So I think there's more to come, and there's ways that they can improve and just manage some of the payroll tasks a little cleaner. But I think that'll come in time. I think that payroll is still pretty young. When you think about, some of the legacy systems like ADP, they've been doing payroll for how many years? It's going to take a while to have that same kind of feel and flavor. And, Acumatica is willing to take on the difficulty of managing unions with the payroll and certified payroll jobs and willing to put that together. Not all payroll platforms do that and do it well.
You've been running on Acumatica for a couple of years now. Does your experience with payroll specifically give you more confidence about things continuing to improve in the future based on how you've watched things evolve?
Yeah, I do. I do see and have more confidence in it than I did maybe when we went live and things started kind of going south for us. Um, maybe at the beginning, I would have wanted to jump ship pretty quickly. But I think with patience and understanding and there being explanation within payroll that wasn't there when we began, I think all of that builds confidence, and having those personal relationships and personal conversations and hearing their heart and desire for where they want the payroll module to be. I think that gives us all confidence.
I think it's a big point because, for me, one of the things that attracted me to Acumatica early on was it wasn't about what it did. It was about the direction that it was going in, right? When you're considering a new ERP system and you're looking at the bullet points, it's not just about that static list. It's about how is that list going to grow over the next 5 to 10 years, right? And I
Right.
feel like that's a strong point for Acumatica, that they do evolve, they do adapt, they do respond. And it's not just about what they're doing today. And sometimes that's hard to gauge. You can't really gauge that between two vendors. You don't really realize the other vendor maybe has been around longer and they might have a few more features, but over the next 5 to 10 years, their list is not going to change very much, right? With Acumatica, they tend to innovate, a lot more than other systems. And I think that has been your experience, it sounds like, with payroll.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not just innovation, it's evaluation. That they're constantly evaluating, okay, what are we doing? Is it the best thing that we can be doing? They're listening to customers, they're listening to what could we do to make things better. I think the community is great for that. I've personally become more active in the community, probably in the past month or two, just trying to put some more ideas out there and helping other people, because that's part of it. It's learning from other people's experiences. And that's why I'm so thrilled with our users group and making those connection points in the community.
You said that someone from Acumatica drove a couple of hours to get there last night. Are you allowed to drop names who that was?
I would not feel comfortable dropping names,
we
but I can
don't
tell
have
you
to,
that
no
they came
problem.
from about 2 hours away.
That's impressive. That's a
Yeah.
4 hours round trip. And
Yeah.
when did you meet? Like lunchtime or dinner time?
Yeah, we met at 12, and I think by the time we did a little optional tour at the end, I was one of the last to leave, and that was probably around 4:30.
Okay.
But some other people had phased out earlier to get kids off the bus, because we're back to school now, and if they had a longer drive home.
Okay. So 3 to 4 hours
Yeah.
was your user group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when's the next one? What kind of cadence are you looking to get into?
So we're looking to do quarterly. Our next
Okay.
meeting, we do have a date. It's going to be November the 9th. And I'm hoping to have it here at Dutchland. Just need to get that approved by the higher ups, but we'll be looking to have it here, and kind of doing the same kind of cadence. Might start a little earlier in the day so we can, instead of starting with lunch, we'll end with lunch, and that community time, and having more time to chat with people and dig into, like, as you do in your user group, pop open the laptops and dig into stuff and try to help others solve problems instead of, just leaving at the end.
That's impressive that someone from Acumatica drove 4 hours round trip. That's commitment right there.
Yeah, I was very appreciated too.
Well, I know that we had wanted to talk about manufacturing as well, your experience implementing that. But before we get there, anything else on the user group or any other things that you want to mention?
I don't think so. I will provide you the link to our stuff in LinkedIn if you want to put that in the notes. So if you're listening and you're in our region, want to participate and join, we would love to have you.
Say it again. It was Central Southwestern Pennsylvania. Is that what it was?
South Central Pennsylvania
Central. Okay.
user group. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So you won't
let's
find
see.
us on the Acumatica community, but you'll find us on LinkedIn.
So SCPUG.
Yep. Something like that. Yep.
Cool. Very cool. Well, that's awesome. I didn't know that. So, to find that out, 5 minutes before we press record, was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, we talked payroll last time, got a little update there.
Yeah.
Then, maybe tell us, refresh us on your business and why construction and manufacturing is important to Dutchland.
So our company is a full service company from design all the way through installation. We build custom designed concrete, water, and wastewater treatment tanks. That's the business we're in, and we ship up and down the East Coast, Maine down to Georgia, and then basically the Atlantic Ocean out to Indiana. We'll go about that far. We've done one job a little further on the other side of the Mississippi, but that's not our typical area. So we're building, we're designing here in-house with our own group of engineers, and we take a cast in place design and we make it precast, meaning that we're going to pour the concrete panels here at our facility in Lancaster County, and we're going to put them on flatbed trucks and we're going to ship them out to a job site with a just-in-time delivery schedule. And then we're going to use a crane to erect them, to take them right off the truck and put them where they belong. So if you're familiar with the way Lego sets work, if you have kids that love, or if you love to go through the Lego sets and build according to the instructions, that's how we piece our tanks together. They have to go in a specific order with specific timing, or else it doesn't fit.
Is that the way that most companies do it, or is that unique to Dutchland? Do most people pour at the job site?
Yeah, so we're unique in that we do the precasting here. It is more common for the poured in place, meaning they're going to put forms up and they're going to put the rebar in there, and then they're just going to bring ready mix trucks, back them up, and dump the concrete in. Once it's cured, then they can strip those forms away. There's another type of construction for these tanks. It's called where they will use a precast panel, but instead of putting the tensioning inside the panel, which is what we do in an encapsulated system, the wire wrapping goes outside of the concrete panels and it pulls the panels together that way. And then they call it shotcrete. And then they put a layer of concrete on the exterior of the tank to cover that rebar, or the reinforcing strand, so it doesn't corrode. So that's the other kind of construction that we're up against with our competitors.
And is there an advantage for pouring it on site and then shipping it out? Seems like it'd be more of a headache because now you got these big pieces that you have the shipping costs for.
It actually greatly reduces our time on site. From the time that we step on site to the time that we're done, we don't have to wait the 14 to 28 days for the concrete to pour to cure before we can move on to the next step of sealing the tank and making it watertight. All that curing happens here, and that's happening at the same time that the slab that's on the grade, that's curing. So all that curing kind of happens simultaneously. So then when we do come out to site, it goes up. We're a typical tank 4 to 6 weeks for the installation and the sealing, and we're done. So a typical tank could be 12 weeks on site, from there being dirt on the ground to being a completed tank. So our window of of time on site greatly shrinks if we're not pouring in place.
So a big benefit is that you're able to spend less time on site. Is there also a quality implication? Do you have more control over your shop environment than you would if you were pouring at a job site?
We do have a lot more control with that. All of our panels are poured inside of a building, which is temperature controlled. So we can pour year round and be able to maintain those air temperatures with our curing. We build panels every day. They come out of the mold in the morning after they're QC tested. They come out of the mold. They replace what was in there with fresh ingredients, fresh rebar, all of the parts and pieces, and we pour concrete that day. It sits overnight. 12 o'clock, they come in, they test the concrete for strip strength, and then the concrete is pulled out of the mold, and it happens all over again. So our quality control measures are a lot tighter. And that was an integral part of what we were building out with our manufacturing module as well in Acumatica.
So when you're doing a build on the job site, you've got the construction edition functioning there. And now looking to implement manufacturing in your shop, it's the manufacturing edition.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting. Tell us about how the timeline went there. I heard you say quality. Was there a product involved with that? How did that play out?
So we do use the full manufacturing module integrated with a QMS add-on package from eWorkplace Apps. So we use that customization project in our live environment. So it's all within. From start to finish, I would say we actually started on manufacturing about the same time we were starting on our payroll implementation. And when payroll was kind of going south, we completely put the brakes on manufacturing for probably about 8 months. We just didn't do any work on trying to put that into play because there was too many unanswered questions. I did not have the bandwidth to support the manufacturing implementation. So last January, we've really just started, we ramped up our efforts to tighten up everything we're doing with our implementation, and we were successfly live middle of June. So once we dug into it, about
Pretty
6
good.
more months.
And did you go live with both the QMS and manufacturing at the same time?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We also went live at the same time with an integration that we built out with Smartsheet. So we use Smartsheet to do all of our scheduling of our production orders. That integrates through the sales order module, as we use the sales orders to create all of our production orders. And then it syncs our tables, our table allotment, which are our work centers. It syncs the work centers, and it syncs the dates as well. And so when we update Smartsheet, because we had a panel push, because we're not going to do it today, we're going to do it tomorrow instead, then we sync it back, it updates the dates, changes the schedule that our guys see.
I know I've seen it out there somewhere that Acumatica has a Smartsheet integration. Were you able to use that standard, or did you end up doing something custom to hit all of the integration points that you needed?
So I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe that our Smartsheet integration is based on the existing integration, and then we build it out even further. We have a lot of custom fields in the sales order for our manufacturing. There's different data points that we need to be able to ship our panels out, and we'll do the shipping through the sales order because that will contain all the information we need. We are building an additional integration with Smartsheet for our project scheduling. So that way we can manage our job schedules as well. And that will feed into the project module That is not done yet. We're still working on that.
Sounds interesting. What made you guys look at Smartsheet? Is it because of just the user interface and the ability to drag and drops and see? I think they do a Gantt chart view. I mean, what was the reason for involving Smartsheet?
Well, because there was an already existing connector there with Acumatica, that definitely drove part of that decision. And I think the other part was because it's cloud-based. It has what we need. We're not doing a lot of crazy scheduling like some companies do. We're not scheduling our labor. That's one thing that doesn't happen through Smartsheet. It's just more resource allocation is what we're doing. And then using kind of that Gantt chart side of Smartsheet for our project scheduling. Because we need to make sure that things aren't overlapping to the degree that we can't handle it with our manpower.
Yeah, you're looking for like constraints or bottlenecks where you need to kind of spread things out.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I mean, as opposed to like, I haven't looked at this seriously, but I know Acumatica has made some improvements to the visual planning side of the manufacturing module, but I'm sure you would still need to tweak it, with your custom fields and things. My impression is that Smartsheet would be easier to customize because you're just dealing with integration points. You're not having to build screens and do a UI. Is that a fair way of looking at it?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way of looking at it. We did take a peek at what they have for the advanced planning scheduling, and it just didn't quite meet our custom needs. Because we are a full custom shop, there is not one structure that we build that is going to be just like another. There's unique characteristics to everything we do, be it, custom height, custom width of panels, the list just goes on of all the customizations where a hole goes in the wall for a pipe to go through. Is the tank circular? Is it rectangular? All those things feed into why it needs to be as custom as what it is for us.
I used to work at a company in Cleveland, Ohio that built tunnel boring machines, which were basically cylinders. But when you change the diameter by as little as an inch, then the dimensions on everything changes. That makes sense that everything would be custom in your world too. What about you mentioned the sales order. So is it that the sales order would have your finished products on them, and then your production orders and manufacturing is what has all of your raw material requirements, or did you do anything unique there?
So we in the sales order is kind of the collection point of all the individual concrete panels we're making. And then each one of those lines in the sales order becomes one production order. And then we are not at this point, we are not back flushing any material or labor on our production orders. That's a down the road, a little bit of a pipe dream there. Not sure we'll ever get there with the labor, but I think with materials we can get there. That's just pretty far out of the scope of what we were currently doing prior to this. So that would be brand new thought process, business process for us.
How big is a slab? Does it fit in the back seat of my car, or do I need a flatbed truck to transport one of these things? How big are they?
You're going to need a flatbed truck, and you're going to need a crane, either an overhead crane or a mobile crane of some sort to get the panel off the truck. We're talking 40 to 45,000 pounds is what some of these panels are.
So that's a finished product from the manufacturing module's point of view.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, so that probably means, well, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm then trying to think of like indented bills of material. Is it pretty flat in the sense that I'm not making a production order that then goes into another production order, or am I wrong there?
So one production order is a production order. There's nothing, we don't, I was going to say, we don't stack the production orders like that, other than from the perspective that it will take 50 production orders to build one tank, but we're not connecting them in any other way within the manufacturing module, that they're just being connected in the sales order for when they ship out.
So you pour the slabs, which we can think of like Lego pieces, and then the Lego pieces get put together on the construction side of things, the project in Acumatica, the job site in the real world.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
How about quality? So where does quality come in? How does that fit into the process, and how is it done in Acumatica?
Yeah, so our quality process, we use Acumatica kits from the inventory and bring that into the QMS module. Those kits are for our concrete testing, our fresh concrete testing. So every kind of big batch of concrete we make, every so many yards, we have to test the concrete that's coming out of the mixer for various different standards and things like that. And so we kit all of that, and then we do testing on that at 1 day, 7 day, 14 day, 28 day, and 56 day. So our kits allow us to kind of keep that open and until all the tests are satisfied, or until we say, hey, this test is no longer needed because it meets the criteria. We're looking for strength testing at those different days. So we're doing compression testing and breaking those cylinders to see what pressure they can withstand before they bust. And then we're using the QMS module from eWorkplace Apps to take care of that kind of integrates with the kits. But it also helps us with all of our testing of each panel. So we do a pre-pour inspection, and that inspection does everything from measurements to make sure that we're in tolerance, because again, if you grow by 1/2 inch on every panel, when you go to put it in place, it could possibly be 5 inches off, and that's going to be a problem. It's not going to fit together properly. So our tolerances are pretty tight when it comes to how far you're allowed to be off, measurement wise. We also have to make sure that the reinforcing and the penetrations, where the lifting pins go for actually picking up these pieces, you have to make sure all that is kind of in the exact place that the engineers determine. If it's not in the right place, then you're looking at potential failure on your panel. So we have all of that in. It's a pre-pour inspection and a post-pour inspection that happen on every panel, and that comes through the QMS module, and that's where we store all those records for certification purposes.
I was thinking, and I might have been wrong on this, that the slabs that you're making would be done on a production order in the manufacturing module. Is that right? Or are those kits as well?
No, those are not kits. They're done as a production order.
So for the pre-pour inspection, is that related to a production order, or is that still related to a kit somehow?
They're connected with the production orders. They're not kits. But it's a QC order is essentially what they call it from any workplace in the QMS module.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about the quality piece. I'm trying to tie that together in my head. So but maybe if we stick with the pre-pour, help me understand that. So you've got a production order where you're going to be making a slab on that production order. Before you do the pour, you're going to do some quality inspection. What screens do you go to, and how do you kick off that process?
So when the production orders are made, they're defined with a bill of materials, a BOM, if you would. And in that BOM, it dictates what quality control order type needs to be used for that BOM. So when you create the production order from the BOM is almost like a template. It grabs from the template the default table, the inspections that you require, and things like that. Any other actions that are required are specified at the BOM level. And then when it's created, it's already in there. You release the production order. It releases and auto creates a quality control inspection order that needs to be completed, and it puts it in a pending status once the quality control techs do their inspection, then that takes it out of they release it and say, hey, it's good to go, or hey, there was these problems. And then when they report the problems and the things that do not meet the criteria in the inspection report, it then creates nonconformances. And those nonconformances go through a process and they get sent to the engineer, and the engineer says, yep, that's okay. I can be okay with it being off 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch on this one. That's okay. Or no, you need to do a repair. Here's the repair. And then that goes through and closes out once the repair is complete.
And that order type that you're talking about, is that just a different production order type, or is that a different thing entirely? Like, are you still on the production order screen in Acumatica with that order type, or is this an order type that only exists in the QMS area?
It would be a QMS order type for the inspection report.
Okay.
You're talking about for the inspection reports?
Yeah, the actual order that it creates.
Mhm.
When you're saying different order type, that's just a screen that only exists in the QMS area.
Yeah, so when you load the QMS customization, it provides you with a whole kind of screen of its own, a whole menu of its own, but it interacts with the production orders screen or set of screens.
Do you add like a QMS step as a detailed line on the production order? Is that where the link happens, or is it at the production order itself?
It happens at the BOM. You make that link at the BOM,
the BOM.
And then when the production order is made with a BOM called out, that's when it auto creates within because when you go into the production order detail level, it'll show you the different steps that have been created, or the different work centers created by the BOM. And we use the QC orders as almost like a work center.
Okay.
That's almost how they connect through.
That makes sense, because you could have multiple QC steps at different parts of the production process, I would imagine. So
Yeah,
it has
we
to be
have
at
one
the
at the
detail
beginning
level.
and one at the end.
Okay, that makes sense. And then you also said in there that you have engineers looking at it. So does that mean you have engineers now logging into Acumatica? Maybe they were before.
Yeah, they were before, mostly for their time cards.
Okay.
But
that's
yeah,
cool.
now the engineers are in there now. They've got their own dashboards. They get notification when they get assigned to figuring out a nonconformance. They can see the daily production schedule and what's pouring. Because yeah, if there's any issues, it always goes from quality control directly back to our engineers. And ironically, our quality control management department is under our head of engineering. They report to our engineer, our chief engineer.
It's kind of like the engineer's eyes and ears in the shop.
Yep, that is a great way to put it.
I think that's interesting because, not typically the construction and manufacturing side would be two different systems, right? So you succeeded in bringing those onto one system. Yeah. And then also typically, I could be wrong on this, but I feel like typically the engineers want to be outside of the ERP system, right? I mean, they have their like CAD systems and drawing systems, and they throw it over the wall to operations. And it's like, yeah, I'm done except for a quality perspective. So the fact that you've got that now all on one system, you got engineers in there, you got job site construction people in Acumatica, and you've got manufacturing people in Acumatica. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah. And it's been really cool too, because so you mentioned that, our engineers and our drafters, they're working in their own CAD system. Well, we have our CAD system is so that we can has developed enough that we can export data, and we have created those exports out of the drafting software that then simply get directly imported into Acumatica. We've customized the reports out of one to meet the customized needs of the other. So it's really cool how they might be two separate entities, but we've gotten them and are able to get them to both to the same place to write those custom reports and talk to each other. It's not happening automatically, but it's the capability to talk is there.
I think I smell Microsoft Excel here. Does Excel get involved?
Always.
Like a dump, and then yeah. Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You can
We do
never
a
get away
lot
from
of
that.
Excel dumping to get the imports to what we need to get the data in there, the initial data into the sales order. And that is the data that comes out of our drafting software.
So you've been live for a couple of months on these new modules. How's that been going with the QMS and the manufacturing?
I think it's going well. We ran in and encountered a couple minor issues within the first month or so. We were still connecting back with our old legacy system for about a month and a half while we finished up the remainder of the quality control testing that, takes some time to get through. But I think we are just about out of that and can abandon it. We're still writing some custom reports and custom GIs to get our dashboards tweaked the way that we like them now that we have about a month and a half, well, almost 2 months worth of data in there now. So having more data, it makes it easier to build those things out and make sure that we're showing the results we want to see.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool. I mean, I'm glad to hear that it's going well. It sounds like it's been a better experience than payroll was, right?
it definitely was.
What then? It's like this is the first time you've had one system for both the manufacturing and the construction side. What are, maybe just talk about the benefits of that, and maybe even some of the unexpected benefits that you've discovered.
And so I think one of the big benefits is, and I'll even add to what you said, having manufacturing and construction, but then also adding in the CRM package and the marketing. We still have more we can do there. Starting to use leads more than just creating opportunities for everything. We're now at the point where we're beginning discussion of, okay, what do people want to see? What do decision makers, what does management want to see to be able to decide, okay, are we chasing more jobs right now? Do we need to hold off on chasing jobs? Because there is a little bit of an ebb and flow in our business. And there's always some down times where there's not as much bidding, but then the bidding goes up and the contracts flow in waves, and then, things get really quiet. So being able to make those decisions using good data points and especially the schedule in that part, being able to see that long-term schedule, also seeing the long-term scheduling now with manufacturing, as far as like, we can see like, okay, here's where we're going to really peak and we're not going to be able to keep it all in the shop. And how do we manage that? How do we keep up? How does the mixer keep up? Making decisions based off of future projections from the corporate standpoint. We have a lot of desire coming in for data, and I think now that we're all together with the CRM, the manufacturing, the construction, we can see that clearer and we can make better decisions as a company to move forward.
It sounds like a lot of it comes down to keys in the database, in that you now have a link between, for example, that production order and that sales order. You have a link between the manufacturing world and the project world, whereas before it might have been fuzzy in the way that you would have tied those two worlds together. You might have been able to get the data out of two different systems, but matching it together is not very clean when you're on multiple systems. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, before it was like we'd have to pull data from one area, manipulate it in Excel, and pull data from another area, manipulate it in Excel. And as much as I love Excel, there's only so much Excel manipulation that you really want to do and spend your time on. Now it's more readily available. I can connect those two in one place and have a pivot table a lot faster, or see trends a lot faster. Even with the quality system, they have been wanting for a long time to see our historical trends for the past 28 days on how we're doing with our strength testing. And it wasn't even a week into being live, and I could provide the initial data for them, and they're like, I have been asking for this for years and I've not been able to easily get it, and you did it for me in just a matter of days. So that was really kind of cool to see that that short term, or that goal that they had of wanting to see data happen in such a short turnaround time. So that was really cool.
So the main ways that you're delivering data right now is generic inquiries and dashboards, or is Report Designer in there at all? What's the mechanism?
Unfortunately, Report Designer isn't there. It is I have a love-hate relationship with it. But no, it's definitely that is our primary. I think our next big goal, once we get through wrapping up some things here in 2022, we want to start having conversations, hopefully out at Summit, with some BI tools that can integrate. We do use Velixo right now, but it's very limited in how we use it. There's not, our Velixo user is not overly technically versed, I guess is the best way to put it. He can use the tools that he's given when he's told how to use them, and he understands how that one tool and that one link works with Velixo. But I know there's a lot more power in Velixo. I just don't have good Excel knowledge to be able to take it to the next level. And I think we want to see some things other than what Velixo can provide to us as far as those BI tools.
So you've implemented a bunch of modules, which gives you a stronger data foundation, and now you're looking at other tools to help you slice and dice that data in a BI fashion. That sounds like a normal ERP path to me, and it sounds like fun too. Has it been fun?
There have been days where and weeks, maybe a couple months here and there, that have been fun, but it's challenging. I mean, this is not something that I ever thought I would do or sign up for, but I do find that I have a skill set that allows for growth and understanding and learning in that, and that I truly enjoyed. And I think as a company, we've grown really far. And even just this year, I was having a conversation the other week, and we were talking about just how we feel we've grown leaps and bounds this year. And it just feels like it has progressed so quickly as compared to last year. It felt like we were just dragging ourselves through the mud. So that feels like a victory to me, and a win for sure. But yeah, I think it's been good. I think overall, I think a lot of people here are excited about, continuous changes and improvements that we have coming. Yeah.
That also makes sense to me. I the way you described it, I feel like an ERP implementation takes a while to get momentum going, right? It's not linear. It's not like that you notice improvements in a linear fashion. It takes a while till you get to the point where you're hitting your stride and feeling like, oh yeah, we're really getting benefits out of this. And then the momentum kind of starts to grow, and then it's easier to keep that momentum than it is to get it going in the beginning. So you kind of stick it out and you go through it. It starts to get more fun as time goes on, because you're just I don't know, it just seems to be the nature of ERP. I don't know exactly why it is that way, but
yeah,
I've definitely experienced that as well. Yeah, I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile. I'm just going to read off some job titles here, going back to 2003, submittals coordinator, then 2004, project coordinator, 2008, project manager assistant, 2013, logistics manager, and then January 2021, accounting and applications administrator. To your point, back in 2003, when you're a submittals coordinator, you probably did not foresee that path. And you probably did not expect to be accounting and applications administrator or Acumatica administrator at this
no,
point.
I didn't even know what the word ERP meant at that point when I stepped out of college. And but it's been a good journey. I don't think I would have said at that point I even had my eyes set on working in accounting and with financials and numbers and running payroll. Like that was never in my scope of what I thought I wanted to do. Back then, my eyes were set on being a project manager. And I think I've learned about myself over time, and this company has helped me grow and learn that that might not be the right seat on the bus for me, but this definitely feels like a good seat, and I'll be here for a while.
So you've been live with manufacturing for a couple of months now. You've brought most everyone onto the bus. Now is it a matter of, like you said, the dashboards, the BI side of things? Is that where the focus is, or is there anything else that you're looking to tackle in Acumatica at this point?
So we want to roll out mobile usage to our employees. We got that was one thing that got waysided when things were going south last year with our projects and with our payroll. So we have yet to roll out expense reporting for the past almost 2 years. We have continued to hand enter everybody's expense receipts into the system for them. So starting next month, we're going to roll out our first little group of users to be able to use the mobile app and use direct scanning. Those are two new things that are coming for us right now. And by, I think, November, we want to have all credit card users doing their own expense reporting. Approval mappings is something we've not rolled out yet. So we've been doing a lot by hand. That'll be coming before the end of this year. We also have, we still have our issue with the time clock. I know that there's some new things that are coming in 22 R2 with the time clock and time allocation. So we're still going back to our payroll discussion, still using our legacy system for time clock and time allocation for our manufacturing facility. So we're hoping to change that in the next 6 months. I'm not sure if we'll be done with that by the end of this year. We still have some evaluation to do. And if we can't use the out of the box, then we're going to have to go customization. There's just no other options out there for us right now, unfortunately, with the way that our manufacturing plant works. So those are some of the big things we're working on. And then after that, I think it's on to BI tools and just that continued improvement on GIs and reports and things like that, and trying to fulfill the needs that people want to have or that people do have.
When you said customization, it reminds me, I wanted to ask you on Smartsheet, if you are comfortable name dropping, was that something that your VAR helped you with? Because you mentioned you tweaked it, or was there an outside development firm that you used for that?
So there is an outside development firm. We used Skynac. I think they were the originators, from what I understand, of the integration with Smartsheet to Acumatica.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if they did the tweaks for you. Okay.
They did. They actually, so we had another customization built by our VAR for the custom fields. And instead of having two separate customizations, since they were related, we took the customization that our VAR did and integrated them into our customization from Skynac.
I appreciate you name dropping that, because I know there's other people interested in Smartsheet integrations, and Skynac's a good one to go to for making that fit, exactly your integration points.
Yeah, and the guy we've been working there with there at Skynac, he's been really great in being able to help navigate some things for us. We still have some tweaks we need to make to our initial manufacturing integration. There's a couple things not working as well as what we would want, but I know that he's got it on his radar and he's working on it, and we'll get there. We'll get it sorted. Yeah.
Well, I'll drop a link to the LinkedIn user group on this episode page. Any other things you can think of to close with?
I don't think so. We just need to figure out how to get you to Summit so we can see each other in person.
That's the plan. We'll see. I'm committed is still too strong of a word for me, but I'm definitely planning on being at Summit at this point. So you're planning to be there again this year?
I will be there at least. I'm not sure about the training. I need to see what the training schedule is. Like where I'm at now, I struggle with some of the classes that they offer because they feel like really entry level classes, and I'm not really even at an entry level point. I'm not at the entry level point anymore. So it's a little hard for me to find meaningful classes to feel like I can stay for the whole week. But I mean, I have the desire to learn. I just need more in-depth material to be able to take classes on. So
now that you are accounting and applications administrator, you're now part of the club that just shows up on the first 2 days, the executive club that comes Monday and Tuesday, and then they roll out of there after the show is done. You're there to kick the tires on ISVs and meet other customers, I think that's where you're at now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's a little where I'm at unless they can start offering like an advanced class. Like I would love to take an advanced class on report designer and be able to learn how to work that system better. Or like I know that you're offering a class down in Georgia at that users group, and I would love to be part of that, but I am just coming off vacation and that didn't work for me. But like an advanced like GI kind of class, like I know there's more that I need to learn. I know there's more I could do. The basic GI class just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I've still got this idea. I'd sent this out in a couple email blasts. I've got this vague idea of like a generic inquiry boot camp is what I was calling it, where it's sort of like a group consulting session. But that my challenge with it is you have to book a room, which is expensive. And normally for a class, you've got to get into like the 10 to 20 people attendance in order to make up for that. But
Yeah.
my idea for like a GI boot camp was more of like a 4 to 5 person where you don't necessarily have a training outline. It's just more, okay, what do you guys want to build? And we're kind of building it together. So I still kind of like the idea. It's how you cost wise. I don't know how to do a 4 to 5. And then, someone cancels and now all of a sudden it's not even profitable, So I
Yeah.
like the idea though, where it's sort of coming together and now you're just bringing your specific examples, but it's not one-on-one consulting. It's more of a group consulting idea. Maybe I could
Yeah, I
pull it off
definitely
virtually.
like that concept. Like I just had an hour-long conversation this morning with my consultant, and I said, like, this is what I need to build. I know I should be able to connect these tables, but I don't want to break what's already there because it's an out-of-the-box GI, and like I need to add a table to it and things like that. And with that came an hour-long conversation, and then I'm looking at it going, we didn't walk away resolving it because we couldn't figure it out. So like I wish like I could just, yeah, exactly what you said, like have like a 4-hour session where I could just bring my questions and have somebody help me troubleshoot everything I'm working on. Because obviously if I can't figure it out with my consultant who is very versed in it, then we're really stuck. And now I have notes and I need to go out to the community or submit a support case. Like that's where I'm left. And yeah.
Maybe we could pull off something virtually. I still think that 4 to 5 people is probably about right. I like the 4-hour idea for something that's virtual because you don't want to go too long. Then the advantage is that you could maybe take the normal consulting rate and divide it by 4, because when someone else is talking about their problem, it's hit and miss. Maybe you're interested or maybe you're just going to check email, but you're paying a quarter of the rate, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to think more about that. That could be interesting.
And I do like the virtual option with that because, then you can have people from all over the country participating.
Yeah.
Like you can say, hey, this GI session, we're going to focus on stuff in the construction world. And then, any GIs that I'm building that are related to construction
Yeah.
might be applicable to somebody else that's building stuff in the construction world.
Oh, I like that idea.
And payroll
That's a
would
cool
be a
idea.
good one too, because payroll does not come with many GIs out of the box. And a lot of GIs for payroll tend to be customized anyway, which is why they don't provide a lot of out of the box GIs.
I'm dropping bullet points on my notes here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I sort of puts the giant pause button on that idea, but thanks for bringing that back up again.
Okay.
Well, Laura, thanks again for taking the time to update us. Now, this is now your 3rd episode that you've come on. I really appreciate the time. Congrats on starting off a user group there in South Central Pennsylvania. Did I get that right this time?
You did.
Okay, good. And wow, looking forward to catching up maybe again in 6 months or so and find out what new and exciting things you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to.
All right. Well, that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of AUGforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening and take care.